Welcome to the Sunday meditation service. Today we're going to be doing Sata Nama. And for those people that are here, I'm going to have a handout on the table as you go out this side. So that this is one of the greatest ways to quiet yourself down and to let the mind be completely clear. And if you do for 12 minutes, we won't be able to do 12 minutes today, but if you can do 12 minutes of this, it will change your life. All that maze that goes on in your mind, stuff that we go over and over again, something happens, we can't stop the running. Sit down and do sa, ta, na, ma. And it's your first finger with your thumb, second, third, fourth. Sa is the beginning, infinity. Ta is life, existence. Na is change and transformation. Ma is rebirth, regeneration, and resurrection. See yourself clearing your mind and becoming a vehicle of the pure divine thoughts that need to be in our minds at this time. We've got to get rid of the nonsense that we're dealing with and be the channels for the good at this time. So, Louis will give us the tabla. He's so good. Sata Nama. Sata Nama. Sata Nama. Sata Nama. Sata
Good morning, everyone. Last Sunday, I related the difference between fun and joy, and how the quest for fun diminishes as we grow up and is replaced by self-fulfillment, prestige, security, sex. And then at some point later on in life, there is the quest for peace of mind, comfort, and possibly joy. Peace of mind enters the human scenario because with some living over some time, it becomes apparent that the world is insane. You really don't have to have a lot of experience if you're awake or you're seeking to be more awake. You recognize that the human experience is plagued by insane people, and how or why they carry on in the fashion that they do seems to be somewhat beyond what we understand. I'll just give you an example of, they're still bandying about the whole idea of where this coronavirus came from. And there's many people that say it came from a laboratory in Wuhan, China, where they were involved in making deadly drugs and diseases that could be used against other human beings. You only need one statement of that. Germ warfare. Germ warfare? That's a confession that there's insanity in human awareness. Now, who would ever work on creating germ warfare? All you can say is they were paid enough money to do it, even though they went home to their children or their families or whatever they did. But still, it's a confession of insanity. Now, this transformation, this transitioning from the quest for fun to the quest for security, for prestige, personal prestige, we go through those phases. And then at some point we realize we would like to sustain or gain peace of mind. And that requires an understanding of true self. When the idea that know thyself is the impetus for the spiritual journey, is to know thyself, then we have to be more introspective about how we think, not how others may be thinking, but how do I think? So let's begin by that kind of research that we really need to be involved in doing. With this first PowerPoint, please. Zen Master Holkin, they believe someone coined this very popular Zen statement. Before enlightenment, I chopped wood and carried water. After enlightenment, I chopped wood and carried water. This seems like a futile attempt as far as an explanation goes. It seems like you paid money to get on a bus that promised to take you someplace that you'd never been. And the bus drove around and around and around and kept charging you more and more bus fare until finally it reached this place and dropped you off, and it's exactly where you got on. But the bus wasn't lying to you, in other words, the bus driver. Because it dropped you off where you got on, but you had never been there. You had never been present from the very beginning. So you took the bus toward enlightenment, and it brings you back to right where you got on, but now something is different. And this is what is different. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? The difference that is evident: before enlightenment, while chopping wood and carrying water, I experienced resistance, thinking there was something more important, more rewarding that I should be doing. Before enlightenment, while chopping wood and carrying water, I experienced resistance, thinking there was something more important, more rewarding that I should be doing. And that is at the place where we begin to contemplate peace of mind. Because this whole idea of something more rewarding, more interesting, more important is part of our natural process of evolution. Because we're pursuing life and trying to make life work in the best way we can, from the best understanding that we have. But there should be an awakened process in living that reveals to us that that particular seeking outside of oneself is not going to do it. And we see enough examples of that all around us that we begin to say, well, there must be something else. There must be another way. And that's when we realize that the difference between pursuing life in the world without a spiritual counterpart in our lives is to forever be involved in some internal anxiety or resistance. That seems to be an ongoing experience for people who are questing to gain security, gain peace, gain something from the world. Because it comes with the natural fear of failure and all the different fears that go along with ego-centered consciousness. So there's always some resistance, thinking there's something better, something more, something needed, something missing. So I'm speaking to you not from a religious, theological point of view. I'm speaking to you as I'm speaking to a family I live with and grow with. We in unity know that we are in pursuit of a remedy to the insanity of seeking outside ourselves, which only continues to offer us anxiety and resistance. So we are in the process of transcending insanity. We know that we need to be in that process of transcending insanity. But the learning required must be simple. It can't be extraordinarily deep and would require really some scholarship to grasp it, because then so many people would be left out of ever finding it. But you have to believe that the truth that will make us free is really simple. And it's corroborated by some biblical thought. Let's take a look at this next PowerPoint. You can read this in the second book of Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 3. But I fear, lest as the serpent seduced Eve by his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted and fall from the simplicity that is in Christ. That your minds may be corrupted and fall from the simplicity that is in Christ. Coming into Christ consciousness is our destiny and our hope of transformation from insanity. That's our hope. You can call it Buddha nature, you can call it enlightenment, you can call it nirvana, you can call it whatever you want. But there's a state of consciousness that no longer is tossed around in the insanity that's coming at us almost continually from the world and the media of the world. There is mastery to be had, but it requires a certain amount of determination and devotion in order to then take to task our own minds. Not to take to task the minds of those who are totally caught up in the insanity, but our own minds. To transcend the thinking of the world that we were born and raised in, educated in, taught to believe in. We have to transcend that because it doesn't bring what it promises, which is fulfillment, true peace of mind, true joy. Because it means you have to get to a place where you're still in the world, you're not taken out of it, you still have your jobs and your families. See, the bus has dropped you off in the same place. But now, there's something new. You're no longer driven by the insane thinking of the world that creates the anxiety and the resistance. Now you see it as it tries to rise again within you. And you see past it, and you live beyond it, and you fulfill what the Master of Life related in this way, that my disciples should be in the world, but not of the world. Should be in the world, but not of the thinking of the world. Should be kept from the evil of the world, which is the illusion that one can personally sustain a great amount of personal control over conditions and circumstances and other people. And that will bring the fulfillment that the soul is seeking. It cannot. And there has to be an awakening to that. That's the awakening to the fact that we're on an insane journey. And so, Eckhart Tolle explains it very carefully about the anxiety that we share in the outer-directed pursuit of life. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? From his book, Stillness Speaks, Eckhart Tolle has this to say: I have so much to do, yes, but what is the quality of your doing? Driving to work, speaking to clients, working on the computer, running errands, dealing with the countless things that make up your daily life. How total are you in what you do? Is your doing surrendered or non-surrendered? Is it what determines your success in life? Not how hard you work. Struggle implies stress and strain, needing to reach a certain point in the future or accomplish a certain result. Let me take this back again because it explains the human dilemma, especially in the Western culture. I have so much to do. Yes, but what is the quality of your doing? Driving to work, speaking to clients, working on the computer, running errands, dealing with the countless things that make up your daily life. How total are you in what you do? Is your doing surrendered or non-surrendered? Is it what determines your success in life? Not how hard you work? Struggle implies stress and strain, needing to reach a certain point in the future or accomplish a certain result. If you're awake to this, then you know you need to be involved in some type of spiritual practice that's going to bring about a transformation in the way you think and feel and live. Now that's all that's to it. This is a hard sell, by the way. Maybe you noticed. This is a hard sell. Because the world is so powerfully supported by its own media. It propagates its own insanity. And when you step outside of that insanity, you sometimes set yourself up for persecution. Because you make those who are still insane recognize that they might just be insane. I watched a film. I watched Gandhi last night, the movie Hollywood made about Gandhi. Well, he was totally insane, according to the world. And of course, we're not called. I have issues with Gandhi's approach, but in any case, it's an interesting thought. So here we are, and we're looking to transcend the accepted thinking and formula for life in the world. And there's someone that gives us a hint, a beautiful hint at what is really needed and necessary. His name was Nicholas Herman. He was a Frenchman that lived in the 17th century, an unlearned man who worked as a footman and also as a soldier in the 25-year European War at that time, which was the bloodiest of all wars ever fought. And he saw the madness up front close and didn't know what to do. And one day he was just staring at a leafless tree in winter, a barren tree in the winter. And all of a sudden, the light from within him went on very brightly, and he understood that when the spring comes, that tree will be returned to life. That the will of God is operating so that this desolate period is not desolate forever, but that it actually returns to true life and expression and has fruit and leaves on it. And so he understood that the quest of humanity is like that. The first part of our journey is desolate. It's without life or spring or understanding or wisdom. But if we are open to the will of God, we shall have that transformation, that this Christ within will rise within us and bring us an understanding that we cannot gain from the universities of the world. And it's only through that true experience that we can find life and find it abundantly. But let me say this, because our thinking naturally places these images of life and abundant life in a certain way. Let me explain to you how Nicholas Herman, after his revelation, was accepted into the Carmelite order in a monastery. Now, when Nicholas Herman was in the army and fighting the war, quite often he was given mess duty. He had to be doing the feeding of the troops and cleaning of the things that have to do with everything to do with food and life and eating. And he despised that part of it. And when he entered the Carmelite order, the first thing they did was assign him to the kitchen duty. There's only one difference. Remember the difference between chopping wood. He, at that point, had given himself completely to the presence of God. He trusted God to take care of everything that he would need to be happy, joyful, and at peace. So all of the work and confusion that went with working in the kitchen in that Carmelite order, and it was not an easy, quiet task, people walking around, with lots of demands being made from different areas for him to get things done and get things washed and get things cooked and get things set. But he said in his letters, in this most incredible book, because he became Brother Lawrence in the Carmelite order, and his letters to people that were seeking and hurting were compiled by someone and put into this tiny little missal of a book called The Practice of the Presence of God. And what he has to say in there is that his time working long hours in the kitchen in the Carmelite monastery, with all the noise and the confusion that went with it, was just as joyful and peaceful and wonderful for him as his time in deep prayer and vespers at the altar in the monastery. There was no change with his peace, his joy, his love, his happiness. Because everything he did for God. And so I'm going to suggest to you the simplest yoga possible, and yet the most rewarding yoga. Live wholeheartedly. Whatever you find yourself doing, do it wholeheartedly. Whenever you catch yourself bemoaning the task that is there for you to do, you have to pause and know that it is your own disgruntledness that makes you upset. It's that resistance to doing what the agenda of life has called you to do that causes the useless, unnecessary suffering. This is you still chopping wood and carrying water, but you're doing it with the resistance that I should be doing something more important, more rewarding, more fulfilling. And then that is where you must surrender the ego-centered concept you were born, raised, and educated in. It has, from the beginning, cheated you out of life, cheated you out of being present, cheated you out of being secure and at peace. Practice of the presence of God. We can do it every place if we live wholeheartedly. If you have work to do that work wholeheartedly. Do it for God. Do it immaculately. Do it brilliantly. Do it better than it's ever been done before. If you have relationships that you have to deal with, and there has to be some kind of compromise. Compromise wholeheartedly, beautifully, forgivingly. Whatever you have to do it in the awareness that it is God's will that it should be done. And then you will begin to feel that peace that is not contingent upon getting our own personal desires met. This is where the Buddha was very clear. This is where the Buddha's teaching is very clear. And he never wanted the mountains of theology that came out of his teaching. All he wanted to bring us to understand that It is in our desires for the world that we create suffering. And if we didn't have such strong desires for the world, we wouldn't be imposing this suffering on ourselves and on others so completely. This is the insanity of the world. This is where human beings get so strung out on getting what they believe is going to make them fulfilled and peaceful and happy, and they have no regard for what they're doing that is creating chaos and suffering and pain for others. So I'm going to conclude this with Eckhart Tolle's quote. Let me take a look at this. He is right on this whole idea of being present in the moment, wholeheartedly involved in living and not conjecturing, not bemoaning the past and what went wrong there that might go wrong again, or the future and how to fix it and make it serve you better from a personal point of view. What if you just became courageous enough to be alive now? This is Tolle. When you say yes to the isness of life, when you accept this moment as it is, you can feel a sense of spaciousness within you that is deeply peaceful. The yes to what is reveals a dimension of depth within you that is dependent neither on external conditions nor on the internal conditions of constantly fluctuating thoughts and emotions. I'll take this back again. When you say yes to the isness of life, when you accept this moment as it is, you can feel a sense of spaciousness within you that is deeply peaceful. The yes to what is reveals a dimension of depth within you that is dependent neither on external conditions nor on the internal conditions of constantly fluctuating thoughts and emotions. And then, down through the ages, thousands of years, here it comes to every ear that's open to hear it. Be still and know that I am God. We're going to practice the presence right now. If Norma can keep up, don't anticipate. See, she's ready to go. See, I have to live with this. She's always got clubs in her hand. It's dangerous. So we're going to practice this meditation. Just let yourself become present to the beautiful tones of the Tibetan bowls. And when we get to that place in silence, about 10 minutes of silence, you may want to hold this thought. There is, in every moment, only one, only God, only now. There is in every moment only one, only God, only now. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let's go forth with a greater determination to occupy them wholeheartedly. And for this opportunity in every moment, we will feel the gratitude that accompanies this devotion to the one present will of God. And so to this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now in relation to our COVID-19 restrictions. Those of you that are watching this on a screen, you can tithe in any one of these ways. For those of you that are here, if you want to make a financial gift that's physical, you can leave it in the basket in the lobby. Or you also can use one of these particular techniques to tithe. What we do is we bring to mind that financial gift we'd like to make to the Unity Ministry in Boulder. And so as we bring that financial gift to mind, we bless it with this affirmative prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
There's a presence moving softly in the quiet of my being, moving softly all the time. One heart, one mind, one light, united and divine. One heart, one mind, one light, united and divine.
So thank you for showing up. We invite you out there watching this on the screen, show up. This is the most sterilized sanctuary you can ever be in. So, we actually use the UV lights before you get here. We sterilize the pews, and, it's safe. We still wear masks, and we're still 6 feet distance, but it's a lot more joy shared in peace, person-to-person presence. So come, please. We have a kind of beginning fellowship these days. Fellowship hall is open. I'll come over there and chat with anybody that wants to chat. But we don't have refreshments. We do have tea. So you can have a cup of tea if you want to stay for a few minutes and talk. We're going to build on that as the restrictions relax more and more, so we can get back to sharing this unity spirit. Thank you for tuning in. Santisha will be taking the next service at 11 o'clock, and she will be giving one of her beautiful experiential talks. You might want to stay and hang around for that. To everyone, have a good day.